What's going on, YouTube peeps and barbecue freaks? Thank you guys for joining me today. Today's video is going to be a collab that I'm doing with probably about 6 or 7 other YouTubers, and it's a rib collab. We're all using the same rub, which is a Creole Seasoning that I think we got the recipe from Big Lou BBQ, or was it Barlow? No, I think it was Big Lou BBQ is who gave us the rub for the Creole Seasoning, and then from there that's the base that we're all using, and then we can add brown sugar, gomino oil, whatever else we want to it. So that's what this video is going to be about. I hope it isn't going to be too long. I'll mention all the other YouTubers at the end of the video or somewhere in the video, and I'll make sure to leave a link to the channels below, so just hit the show more and go show them some love. We also have to answer a few questions, and so I mean it's it should be pretty interesting. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get started on this Creole Seasoning. All right, so the first thing that we're supposed to do is make the seasoning. It's a Creole Seasoning from Big Lou BBQ, but apparently it's also the same as this is the recipe for the Tony's Chachere's Creole Seasoning, and there's multiple recipes online. Big Lou has a story in a video that he put out that is actually really interesting. So I'll take his video with this recipe and the story in it, and I'll link it in the bottom. Just hit the show more, and I'll put a link to that video. But with this recipe, we're going to start with the base recipe, or base rub, which is the Creole Seasoning, and then we'll have to add to that. So according to the recipe, we'll take one container, 26 ounces of just regular old salt. I'm using Morton's, and it does not call for kosher, so it's regular table salt. So we're going to add this whole container to the jar. All right, so we got the salt added. The next thing we're going to add is 3 tablespoons of cayenne powder. Add that to the mix. Next, we're going to take 2 tablespoons. I'm sorry. This was actually, well, I don't remember if I said tablespoons or what, but it's 3 ounces, which is 6 tablespoons of cayenne. I'm sorry if I'm getting that mixed up. I'm taking 4 tablespoons, which is 2 ounces of regular table pepper. This isn't the coarse pepper, just regular old black pepper. We're gonna add that to the mix. Next, we're gonna add 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. And 2 tablespoons or 1 ounce of chili powder. All right, so here we have all the ingredients mixed up. As you can see, it's got some nice color in here, and kind of looks like an ant farm, just kind of piled up, or one of those sand jars just kind of piled up here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the lid on here, and we're just gonna shake it up and get this all incorporated together. All right, I got it all mixed up. This is what it looks like after you've mixed everything together. So we're gonna take this is gonna be the base rub that we use, and then we're gonna add some other things like some brown sugar, some onion powder, maybe a little paprika when we cook the ribs. But this is your base Creole Seasoning, apparently the Tony's Chachere's recipe. So I did taste this. It's got some saltiness to it, obviously because the main ingredient was salt. But with that cayenne powder, man, there's definitely some heat there also. So this is actually not bad at all. It's actually pretty good just the way it is like this. But I probably wouldn't use this alone. I would definitely have to mix it with something just because there's so much salt in here. But this is what it looks like. We got to get the St. Louis ribs trimmed up and ready to go, and we'll get this cook underway.
All right, so here I have the the ribs, and I just trimmed them up a little bit. And what I've done is I've taken that Creole or that Cajun seasoning, and I added some onion powder, garlic powder, some cumin, and some paprika. And I'll put the measurements for those ingredients down in the description box. Just hit the show more. And so I took those ingredients and I added it to 2 tablespoons of the Cajun seasoning sauce, Cajun seasoning rub, that Cajun rub, and that's what we have here. So just gonna take this and get this rubbed down. No binder. That salt should, be able to penetrate pretty easily and stick since I have a little time to let it sit. Not really worried about it. So this rub is, it's got some saltiness to it, and it also has some heat to it. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be a little kick. Shouldn't be too much though. Never tried this rub before. This is a rub that we all have to use, or that we're all using. So we'll see how it works out. We'll see what it tastes like. So get this rub down and bring the Traeger up to temp. Probably going to cook these about probably about 250 on the Traeger. I think that's going to do it there. So we'll see. I'm definitely picking up that cumin or that ground comino. So that's it. We're going to let this set for a little bit, let that rub sit in and penetrate, and then we'll get them out on the smoker. All right, you guys, I got my ribs here, and got the Traeger set up. So we're going to get them on the Traeger at 275, and we're going to let them go for about 2 hours. We'll take a look at them then and see what they look like. I'm going to spritz throughout the cook with apple juice, so I'm not going to show a whole lot of that, but I won't start the spritzing until after the first hour. So I'm going to let it go 1 hour by itself. At the 1 hour mark, then I'll start spritzing about every 15-20 minutes with just straight apple juice for the first 2 hours, and then we'll see what they look like then, and when we go to wrap, decide if I want to add anything to it or not. So we'll get the Traeger going here, get these ribs on. What we got there? We'll let them go and I'll pick it back up in a little while. Alright, these ribs have been going for about 2 hours. The first hour I let them run by themselves. Right after that 1 hour mark, I started spritzing with apple juice, and for the last hour, so about every 20 minutes I've been spritzing with apple juice, and this is what they're looking like now. Since they aren't too dark, I'm gonna go ahead and leave them unwrapped, and we'll see what they look like in about another 30-45 minutes. But that's what we're looking at right now. Or that's what we're looking at right now. So these ribs have been on for about 2.5 hours, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap them. And the only thing I'm gonna put in the wrap is some apple juice, just for a little moisture. We're gonna run these kind of like dry ribs, where I'm not gonna add any sauce, butter, honey, brown sugar, anything like that. So this is what I got here, and I'm just gonna spritz it. Got some apple juice here that I'm gonna spritz it with, and then we'll get them wrapped up and get them back on the pit. All right, these ribs have been going for about 45 minutes wrapped in foil, and this is what they're looking like. I originally was gonna not sauce them, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and use some sauce on these. And the sauce I'm gonna use it's actually this, I believe it was Brother Rich over at Rich's River Smokers, West Virginia. Try to say that 5 times fast. He sent me a care package of a bunch of different stuff, and one of the things that was in there was this barbecue sauce. It's from S&S Sauce and Such by Ryan's. And this is supposed to be a sweet, tangy, citrus barbecue sauce. I tasted it just a second ago. It doesn't taste too bad. It's actually pretty good. So I'm going to try this sauce on these ribs. I think it'll go good with this. And I'm simply going to just put a layer on there and put them back on the pit for about 10-15 minutes. Let that sauce set. So that's what we're going to do now. And the sauce, I didn't get a chance to let it warm up, and I probably should have, but this is a pretty thick sauce. I've never used this sauce before. I can, just looking at it, there's a lot of chunks in here, which is a lot of the, I guess, the seasoning. So I'm, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. It almost looks like a salsa, the thickness of a salsa, but it actually tastes pretty good. It's not bad. So that's that, and what I'm going to do is come back and spritz it with a little more apple juice just to kind of thin it out a little bit. And then I'm going to get it back on the pit. 10-15 minutes, let that sauce set, and then we'll give them a taste. All right, so while the ribs are cooking, part of this collab is to answer a few questions. And I'm going to mention the other 7 YouTubers who are part of this collab also. I'll leave a link to their channels down below. Just hit the show more, and it'll take you to their channels. Go, like, subscribe, show some love to them. So the other fellows that are joining me for this collab are Hobo Nichol, Dave's Ohio BBQ, Barlow BBQ, Corby Q, Hog N Smoke, Hickory Heat BBQ, and Rich's River Smokers, West Virginia. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this collab with these guys is because I wanted to find other people to follow. I enjoy anytime I can find somebody new, and just about everyone on here, with the exception of Rich and probably Kenneth over at Hickory Heat, I've never heard of before. So in doing this collab, I was able to find them as new channels to subscribe and watch to. So it all worked out. So anyway, the questions really quick, and I'm trying to go through them really quickly so I'm not taking up too much time. Number 1, how did you get started making YouTube videos? Well, I love cooking, obviously, and I wanted to show people that you can cook great food and be really simple about it. There was a lot of things that a lot of videos and channels that I would follow that when I would see them make recipes, I just thought, like, wow, that's a lot. Like, it was just a little too much. And I just felt like there's got to be, an easier way to make stuff and keep it really simple and still be really good. And I wanted to bring that to YouTube. I wanted to bring it to you guys. And now I do have some videos where, I'm kind of getting a little like really into it, and there's a number of ingredients, but for the most part I really try to keep it just simple, so that way many of you don't feel overwhelmed and you can go out and make these recipes, recreate them yourself. So that's how I got started in YouTube. Question number 2, aside from barbecuing or cooking, what would be your next favorite hobby? That's easy. Coaching. I love coaching youth sports. I've coached youth football for about 15 years. I helped start up a couple of youth leagues. I was president of my local Pop Warner football league, and I love working with youth, whether it's through sports, through my church, wherever. I love football. That gave me the opportunity to combine the two. And being president of a league for 5 years, it was a great experience.
It was an eye-opening experience. Some of you parents, I'm telling you, some of you parents shouldn't even be out there. But so if I wasn't barbecuing, coaching would be what I would do, and it's, I've coached from 5 and 6 year olds to high schoolers, so, and everywhere in between. So I've been in the game for a while, and I've have coached just an array of different ages. Three, what is your favorite thing to cook? Least favorite thing to cook? Probably my least favorite thing to cook, which I've never done before because, well, it's just the least favorite thing to cook, is something that many of you have been requesting the heck out of lately. It's crazy, and that's lingua, cow tongue. I can't do it, man. Growing up, my mother would make it. My brothers would take the tongue and kind of like scare me with it, chase me around the house with it. So it's just something that I've always been turned off to. So, that was probably would probably be the least favorite thing to cook. That and sushi. I hate sushi. Favorite thing to cook? Barbecue. To be a little more specific, brisket. I love cooking brisket. I love the challenge of cooking a brisket. I just think there's just something in the taking pride in, like, spending so many hours to create this masterpiece. And I think I've kind of gotten it down and mastered it, if you will. So I just love cooking brisket. I made 4 of them yesterday. So that would be my barbecue would be my number one thing, favorite thing to cook, and a little more specific, brisket. 4, if you could have anyone join you in a video, dead or alive, who would it be? That's easy. That's a buddy of mine, Champ, who passed away 11 years ago. He was a friend of mine since elementary through junior high, high school, out of high school. And he was the guy, anytime we got together, all the fellas, he was the one who barbecued. That was his thing. And we would sit around, watch him, let him do his thing, and he was really great at it. So I would love to have him join me now and just kind of see like how I progress, where I'm at now compared to back then when I didn't even barbecue at all. I think he'd be proud, and I would love to have him join me. So last one, what would be one of the top 2 things on your bucket list? Probably open up a food trailer or food truck. Probably a food trailer. Man, I just love cooking, and I love cooking for people. I love feeding people, watching them eat my food, and just seeing how they react. And it's something that I get asked easily 3 or 4 times a week from people. When are you gonna open up your own place? When are you gonna open up a food truck or a food trailer? When are you gonna get a food truck? God willing, that's something that I'm able to do in the future, and that would be like the number one thing, or one of the top 2 things on my bucket list is to, open up my own joint, and nothing huge, but I'm just so passionate about barbecuing and about cooking that I would just love to share that with more people. So anyway, those are the questions. Again, hit the show more. Go follow the other guys. I think you'll enjoy what they're doing. And let's go check on these ribs. All right, these ribs are done. I let them sit for about 15 minutes. And this is what we're looking at. We've got some great pullback. Let me turn this around, you can see it better. But we've got some great pullback on these bones. So we're going to cut into them and see what they taste like. Let's do this. Let me just cut a couple here right off the edge. God, they cut very well. They're very, very tender. Let's do this. Bring him back here. So here's one of the ribs.
Got a nice smoke ring. They feel very, very tender. Definitely got some juice in them still. Let's give it a taste and see what they taste like. You can see here on this one, it's already starting to fall off the bone. So these are definitely tender ribs. All right, selfie cam mode here. Got the rib, so you can see it. Nice and juicy. Let's give it a bite. Oh yeah, look at that. That's tender as all get out. The rib is cooked perfectly. It's juicy, tender. It's perfect. The rub, however, I think is lacking in flavor. It was the first time using it. I probably could have put maybe a little more rub on it, but the measurements that I used, the rub that I used, again, was the first time using it. Now they aren't bad, but they aren't the best ribs that I've had. And again, this was a rub that we all had to use. Everyone's using the same rub, pretty much. But it isn't bad. That Cajun rub is actually a base rub that you can use to make like ribs, chicken, fish, beef, anything like that. It's just a matter of adding other things to it. You know, garlic powder, brown sugar, comino or ground cumin or cumin. But I mean, as you can see, like the rib is cooked perfectly. Like that's on point. Nice bite. But I'm not a huge fan of the rub. The sauce is it's there. It doesn't stand out. It's very mellow, very mild. Maybe using one with a little more heat or a little more sweetness would have been better. But you know, overall, it was okay. Flavor-wise, it was okay. The rib was cooked perfectly. Using these rubs, though, like I said, it was my first time doing it. Wasn't too shabby. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out the other guys that are that I mentioned in this video. I will leave a link to their channel down below. Go subscribe to the channel and just kind of help us spread the love. I know they would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. So I will see you guys next time. Take care.